Let's shoot the shit. Yeah, 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 yeah. Come on, let's shoot the shit. Let's pontificate, verbally masturbate. Come on, come on, come on, let's shoot the shit. Yeah, 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 yeah. It's time to shoot the shit. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, motherfucker, let's shoot the shit.
Hello, welcome to the most recent and live edition of FearLessQA. We are live, so if you have questions and you want to tweet them to FearLessQA, do that, and they'll pop up on the screen over here, and you'll see me like this, and we'll read them off, and we'll answer them. Couple things, just a little housekeeping. I got a people send me shirts, and if you're playing the drinking game, you're gonna have to drink now because I've talked about my shirt. But people send me shirts. I got this shirt from an intern at Deutsch, and he wrote a little note to me as well, and it said, "Dear A," I think it's supposed to be Alex, but it's AELX. Dear Alex, my name is blank. I'm going to keep this anonymous. I am an intern at Deutsch. I recently discovered that VW used to belong to you and was taken without your permission. I am writing to make you an offer. If you decide to take the offer, I need you to wear the shirt I made for you on Fearless and give me a signal by pulling your right earlobe 3 times and saying, "It's hot up in here." I cannot make any promises about the safe return of Volkswagen, but I will try my best. I'm not going to pull my earlobe. I'm not going to do any of that. Thank you for the shirt. I think we're okay now with Volkswagen. It was actually not ours. It is theirs to do what they like with. And so, but thanks for the shirt and thanks for the kind words. We really appreciate it. So today on the show, I want to welcome Greg, who I refer to as Greg the Monk.
Yeah.
But your last name, how do you say it?
Berdulis.
Berdulis. Greg Berdulis and Jed Glass. Advertising's kind of a stressful game, right? And I first met Jed when we moved out here, and Jed came in to help train us. And I said to Jed, I'm like, look, advertising is tough, and you got to be in top physical shape to do great work. And so Jed's worked on a bunch of people here, and has helped really a lot of people, and we've been blessed to have you as part of the CPB family for almost 4 years now.
That's a nice introduction. Thank you.
And Greg is a little bit more recent. I heard about Greg first from Dave Kingsbury, who works here, and Dave was telling me about his friend who was a monk and had sort of come back into I don't know, Nederland, which is not really society quite, but it's a town outside of Boulder, and I had to meet this guy because he was amazing, and children follow him wherever he walks, and it sounded pretty good. So Greg came by the office, and our first conversation was kind of funny, I thought, because I was curious whether Greg could help us in some way here, right? And you were curious why I would be curious about such a thing.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think we were both kind of sniffing each other out in a way, Not in a like you are not a judgmental person. I probably still have some judgments, and I was trying to see just how hardcore you were in the space of monkness. I don't know how to describe it. I love the monk word. So let's start. If you could tell us just a little bit about what your journey's been and how you wound up here.
How far back do I
would start where you're in a cave and you've taken a vow of silence. That's probably
okay.
But don't do every day.
All right. So I'm in a cave in Burma. I'm practicing meditation there. I'm becoming more and more aware of how the body works and how the mind works, because there's not that much stimulation in a cave. So the only thing there is to see is what's happening right here, right now. And to see thoughts come up or memories arise and pay attention to them, and then they disappear all on their own. Where did they come from? Where did they go? The same with a stomach ache. It arises, it stays for a while, and then it leaves. So becoming more and more attuned to the temporary nature of all sensations, that was fascinating to me. And being in a cave was helpful because there weren't commercials, there weren't people to talk with.
Not yet, but there's people
read.
working on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet right here. Yeah. Okay. So I found that I was actually getting happier and happier. Partly because I learned what it means to worry and not do that. I learned what anxiety was and how not to perpetuate it. I learned what it is to remember and regret and stop it. So the mind was becoming clearer and clearer and more expansive. But it was around that time, though, that I got a telephone call or not a telephone call, but an email, which was a big deal because somebody had to go into town, stop at the email shop. They had printed out the email and brought it back to me, and twice a day I'd go up to the monastery and have breakfast and lunch. And it's at lunchtime that I get the email that my father is very sick. And my mother says, I think you would want to be here. There's a few moments of hesitation because I don't want to go back. I'm quite happy as a hermit monk. But there's enough connection to my father and to my family that was a good enough reason to return. But there was also a glimmering that this is time to return to society and offer to the bigger world what I've learned and come to really enjoy as a monk. So I came back to the States. I was here 4 days before my father died. And then I stayed living with my mom, helping out around the house, cleaning everything around the house. After about a year, I realized being a happy hermit is no longer the challenge. The challenge is being a happy, calm, peaceful, generous layman. That's actually more interesting now. So I disrobed, became a layman again, and attended a workshop on contact improvisation. The teachers were from Netherlands. Gretchen Spiro, Steve Homscher, and their beautiful child Quill. My job was to take care of the child because I didn't have enough money to pay for the workshop because I just disrobed. So we made a trade. I was the guardian angel. They were the teachers. I got to participate in part of the workshop. But the four of us got along so well together that they said, you should come to Boulder. There's great dancing here. There's really good people here. And by the way, there's a woman here that we want you to meet. And I said, all of those things sound really good. And I have no job, no wife, no child, no home. So, okay, I'll go. So that was a few months ago. And then I met Dave Kingsbury not long after that. Dave and I were talking. There was the idea of coming here. I talked with Fern. Then that was when you showed up, was that very day.
Yeah.
And if I recall, that was a pretty tough day for you.
It was hectic, but I don't think it was unusually hectic. It was just, it was, typical advertising hectic. But the thing that, and you've experienced this with Greg too, all that practice of being present right, has worked, and it's a fun thing to be around. So I sat down, and you've got a million things going on in your head, and you're not very present. You know, there's emails pulling you forward and backward in time, and it's basically, you know, modern life, what a lot of us deal with, right?
Yeah, it is.
And then I sat down across from you, and you were just there, like absolutely. And not only were you there, you were not. You come from a place of love, you know. And this is like weird stuff to talk about in advertising, probably.
And I think that's
and
great.
And we are okay with it.
I think that's great. We're doing this now.
And because of that, it almost instantly unlocks things, right? You begin to talk about things that you maybe wouldn't talk about, right? And so you and I had a great conversation, and I don't know if you remember, but within 15 minutes I was saying, okay, here's spiritually where I'm stuck, you know. Yeah. And I was ready to do that.
You were so open and deep simultaneously.
And then you said a few things, and I thought about them, and then I think, you know, at the end I was just like this. Do you remember? It was right over there. I was just looking up at the ceiling, and it felt so good. So
what is it that sent you backwards? What came to you?
It was really just that. That although I worked and tried to make things good, I also have a part of me that doesn't think that if humanity ceased to exist, that creation would cease to exist. So I have an aspect where I, in a way, don't care. I care deeply, yet don't care. I have children that I want to have a great life, but yet I don't think humanity deserves necessarily to survive. Only if it does deserve, will it survive. So that was my tension. And I can't really say what you said, but you said, I think that's a perfect place to be. I think where you're, and you took the guilt that I had off briefly enough that I was able to say, oh yeah, that's guilt, and it felt great. And you had a similar, not similar in that way, but you had a similar, interaction when you first met.
Yeah, right? I got to meet Greg just recently, and I came in and my mind was spinning with everything that I deal with in a day, and it immediately dawned on me that I wasn't present. I wasn't really ready to engage with you. And that's really what it comes down to. And for a brief moment I went, oh, I better stop whatever I'm doing here and dial this up a notch, because I engage regularly in, we talked about it, segmented chunks of time with people.
60 minutes.
And when that hour is up, in my world, no matter what's going on in the client's world, I stop what I'm doing and I start a new job, right? And so some point in that hour, my brain is pulling me forward. What's coming next? Or there's some baggage from behind. What was I doing? And I had to stop all that for that time that we spoke and just be. And that was a very amazing thing. And I've spoken to many people about that this week, about how one person's presence in an environment and in a social circle can affect the whole social circle.
Yeah.
And everyone that I've told the story to kind of looked at me sideways, because I deal with a lot of people who are not really present and who are chronically being pulled forward.
Even in Boulder?
Especially in Boulder. I wish that I could have seen Boulder when Boulder was it, right? And I think that Boulder is it, but it is different.
Yeah.
So everyone that I've spoken to has gone, wow, that's really cool. I would like to be more present.
Yeah.
And everyone seems to have this clamoring.
Yeah.
So I think that an organization like Crispin Porter Bogusky has the foresight and the openness to have someone who really tries as a path to be present, is intentionally trying to manipulate the culture of the organization.
Yeah.
And that will change, or at least affect, what comes out of Crispin Porter in the future.
Well, one of the things we talked about afterwards, so I had a couple motivations after we had spent time together, I thought it'd be neat for a lot of people to have that experience. You know, didn't seem too difficult to achieve, right? So how would we do that? And then the other thing that you know we talked about was we have $1 billion in advertising that flows through this place, right? And all of it goes out there with implicit and explicit communications, right? And sometimes we've been able to weave together with Minnie. We talked about, you know, a lot of it was about being kind to each other on the road. Now somehow we were selling a car through this idea, but it was a nice idea, right? Yeah. That was going out in this, you know, heavily funded megaphone that is national advertising. And now you can hope that people do that. And you could try to teach people to do that, and I have done that in the past, but I was frustrated in terms of my success with that. You either want to do that or you don't, right? Yeah.
Now, so, are you frustrated within that particular situation?
I'm frustrated in I wish more people wanted to. We're concerned with putting good messages into the message that they're putting out there.
Got it. All right.
So, you know, when you look at a piece of, you know, beautiful Japanese carpentry, or I was thinking about a shaker box, it reveals a truth, you know, and what the maker and where they were at and their mindset went into the object, and then everyone who experiences that object gets a little bit of those ripples. And I think the same is true of advertising, right? Only it's funded by billions of dollars, which is great. So what my dream was that if you spent time here, and we didn't know how exactly, but if there was a way where you spent time here and people became just generally more aware and more present and happier and more all those sorts of things, all that crap, that they would, I'm kidding, I can't help but to make fun of myself, that they would then just naturally imbibe the communications with some of those values that they were starting to hold. So, you know, we started, you went back and came up with an idea of what you could do here at the agency. Yeah. And you've done a few of them now, and describe what those are.
So the way that I'm functioning at the agency now is to hold what we're calling mindfulness sessions, where there's practice in relaxing the body, coming into the body instead of being so caught up in our thoughts. Then we do some kinds of, before I go on, that we did a session on chair yoga, which is just sort of poses that you can do right in your chair. You don't even have to leave your chair, but ways to help the spine have space between the vertebrae so that you're not slouched over, but you're not hyperextended either. So we're doing things that help us remember that, one, we have a body, two, that we can respect this body, and that we're helping the body to be healthy, really. We're not forgetting the body just because we're sitting at a computer. Then we do a form of meditation. So far, it's been awareness meditation, just paying attention to what's actually happening in the body right now. So that means the mind is not thinking about the past, and it's not thinking about the future. Instead, there's less and less thinking, more and more awareness. And that space of non-thought is not blankness, it's not voidness, but it's awareness that has the quality of depth and peace to it. And that can be nurtured, that can be cultivated. That's what meditation practice is all about.
So a lot of people have come back to me after going to one of the sessions, and basically really happy about it, and asking me how we can make sure that this continues. You know, I've gotten a lot of that.
Well,
And I don't know how well
but
attended
see,
they are.
That's
they,
because it works. I mean, that's because we,
I've yet to go to
in
one.
general, need that. Well, good. I look forward to that.
Yeah.
But part of what's important here to recognize is that this is a human need. I mean, it also happens to help the agency because the people come away more relaxed, less reactive, more focused, with a broader perspective about how to handle the billions of problems in front of them.
Yeah, so it makes better work.
So it definitely makes better work, and creativity tends or is definitely related to not thinking, not
And losing
figuring
the
it out.
anxiety and losing the fear. I mean, we obviously have a show called Fearless, so
Yeah,
we don't
I want to talk about that.
We don't want. Well, can we talk about just because I think there's a parallel, which is, well, when you go work out, I always encourage people go work out. Right. And I know you're busy. I know there's a lot going on, but if you spend an hour working out, I don't think that's time lost. Right. In the same way that this is going to make you more effective the rest of the day, you know, you work out, you're more effective.
Sure, you clear a lot of the junk that's bogging you down mentally out of the pipes, and when you return, you have an endorphin rush, and you think crisply and cleanly and quickly. And there are a lot of people, when I'm in your gym, who come in, knock out 3 to 5 pull-ups and grab a sip of water and walk out. But they'll do that every time they go to the bathroom.
All through the day, yeah.
Or they'll come in and they'll jump on the bench press and, you know, bang out a set of bench press, go to the bathroom, go back to their desk. So there's people who are using it creatively that way.
It's kind of just a body awareness, right? It's like, hey, you know, let me just get aware of my pecs for a little while.
You know, there's something strong to having your ego fluffed a little bit. And if you go in there and you move some weight, you feel good.
Yeah, but you also just feel.
You feel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you take,
right.
you know, like you. Sometimes we're almost like, we call it brain jar, right? You're just a brain in a jar, and your body is just. It's almost like wheeling your brain jar around. And then you sit it in front of different objects and computer screen, right?
Yeah,
I don't know if you.
That's a very strong image.
It's horrible. That's my life.
Painful.
Sometimes. Yeah, painful.
Well, so I'm glad you've got him around to help
Absolutely.
you connect with the body.
Hey, brain jar. Yeah, let's work on the body a little bit. Yeah.
You know, that's also part of what we're doing with the mindfulness sessions is every day there's homework between the sessions so that twice a day employees are advised to stop what they're doing, do some of the chair yoga, or I hadn't even thought about going to the gym. That's a great idea.
All right.
Do 3, 4, 10, 11, 15 pull-ups so that you're reconnecting to the body.
Yeah.
Do a little bit of just breathing, not thinking, just watching the breath. And by the way, when you're doing that, you're more and more available to what might be called the inner body or the energy, the life energy. To pay attention to that. That in itself nurtures that quality of energy that helps us to think later on. But at this point, we're not about thinking. We're just paying attention to what's already here.
What have you found in terms of? I'll ask both of you. In advertising people, this is your only agency that you've done this sort of work at. I'm thinking. You know,
Correct.
Not a lot of corporations have a former monk on staff, sort of like, or involved with the.
Well, that's another.
It should go that way, though, right?
Yeah, but that's also a way of pointing out this agency's forethinking and how it's moving ahead, taking care of its employees, their minds as well as their bodies.
Well, so you've met a lot of people. How, like, I don't know, do you have a numeric rating for how aware the people are here? And like, what kind of physical fitness grade would you give the employees?
Well, how about
Start with you in fitness.
Throw me under the bus first?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I work around a lot of jocks on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I work with some very fit people.
Yeah.
Right? And when I signed up for Twitter, my little bio is that I train the fittest athletes in the world, which is kind of a play on words that Boulder is one of the healthiest towns in the country. It's not that I'm not exceptional. However, the thing that I like about this facility is that there's more diversity and variety in bodies and in capabilities than I ever get to be around.
So that's kind of fun. You're kind of sick of the pro athlete, and you come here and you get all sorts of stuff to model and mold.
And that's almost where I was going to go with it.
Yeah.
If you have to work with a block of clay,
Yeah.
and you have something that's almost a finished piece,
Right.
where do you go?
Right.
But if you have a block of clay that's still almost in block form,
Yeah.
you've got the world to build. And
So you're calling people here blocks?
Nah.
I'm kidding.
See?
I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I think you just called everyone here just like a block of.
I
Clay is
really
kind of putting it
appreciate you
nicely.
having me on your show. I'll be going.
All right, so yeah,
So
describe.
it's a nice analogy of being able to see potential and to work forward,
Oh, yeah.
See how
making
he won't be
something
negative?
finer.
Even
Yeah.
for a second.
I think
he
that the
won't be
potential and the possibility of working with this population is off the charts. Yeah.
Say
I'm
that
gonna just
again.
be
Say
I'll
that.
be over here being
Now
a little
listen
bit
to the man.
negative. I'm just going to be
This is
need
worth
this.
hearing.
I said that the something along the lines of the potential of working with the people here is off the charts.
That's what I say. That's my statement
Yeah.
too. The potential of working with people here is off the charts. There are people that are so intelligent and so articulate. I'm a little agog. They're able to express themselves and use words very, very well. And there's something that they think we can offer them in terms of depth or peace or contentment. So intelligence is one thing, that's great. And that's something that I really appreciate about the people here.
Yeah.
Wisdom is something different. And it takes a wise person to know that there's more to their life than what they're doing,
Right.
and they're willing to seek it out. So that's already incipient wisdom.
I remember a time in my life where I didn't think I could be any happier. And someone pointed that out to me, and it was so ignorant in a way, right? And now I would never try to put a cap on my happiness, right?
Because before it was limited, is that?
Yeah, but I just
there was
thought
a
like,
limitation.
it was pretty darn happy,
Yeah.
you know. Probably can't get happier, right? Just not wise, just and I think that as soon as you take that cap off, then obviously you start to work towards even more,
Yeah.
and you can get happier.
Yeah. And when you are happy, does that affect the people around you?
Makes most people unhappy around me. Yeah,
It makes most
I'm
people
kidding.
unhappy.
No.
He's so happy.
yeah.
How does he do that?
A lot of jealousy creates a lot of jealousy.
can be. There can
could
be.
There could.
For real.
There could be. But no, I think that when you're feeling good and you're feeling present, you're able to, for one, you're able to help people, right? Because when you're not entirely there, it's very difficult to listen to other people's problems
Yeah.
and understand them in a real way and be in a space where you can help them through that. So
I'll help you. It's
Huh?
called 15 extra push-ups. Go for it.
Yeah,
Ready, go.
yeah, yeah.
But I want to, before you go on,
Yeah.
I want to get back to this thing of why do you think it's helpful if you are happy or your sense of well-being is full or you're content? How is that helpful to others?
Beyond what I just said?
Yeah.
Another way? I have to come
Yeah.
up with another way that it's helpful?
I'm
I don't
thinking
know.
that there
I
is a
think that-
kind of helpfulness that is not necessarily through
got your own
words,
ideas.
where we are talking back
Yeah.
and forth. I mean, that's one thing. Like,
Yeah.
for example, I tell you my problems, you find some way to
Oh,
help
I have
me.
a great story. Can I tell a funny
Let's
story?
hear it.
So my wife's father, very conservative guy, worked in academia his whole life. Harvard professor, Stanford professor, told me the other day that the most impressive person he ever met, and I'm thinking, okay, who's this going to be? The Dalai Lama. So he says the first time he met the Dalai Lama, the Dalai Lama takes his hand, right, and he's holding it. He's like this with it, and he's just looking at him and smiling. Right? And my wife's father's like, what is up with this guy? Like, this is just weird, right? And finally, it just goes on and on. It's not stopping. And finally, he says, "Why are you holding my hand like that?" And he says, "Because I think it makes you feel good."
Oh,
And
man.
he was right. It made him feel good.
Sure.
And
That is lovely.
Yeah.
Now, there's intuition and risk-taking.
but I would have thought he would have said Ronald Reagan is the most impressive person I've ever met, or you know, like this is not a person that I would have, you know, guessed that it was the Dalai Lama.
In a corporate culture, there seems to be a void of that mindfulness or that stopping and being present and taking the time to breathe in and out, or if you're on task, stopping and running on the treadmill, which there's a couple of your employees that do it and they do it really well.
Yeah.
And when there's a void, as soon as you introduce it, the body goes, yeah, I need that.
Yeah.
Let's have some more of that. You know, for some of us, it's McDonald's, right? Oh, that's a good Big Mac, you know, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
When you have an environment that moves so fast as the work that you guys are forced to put out here,
Mm-hmm.
to have the opportunity to go, it's okay to put that down and clear my head, and to have the awareness that when you come back to it, you're gonna be
It's
better.
be better. Yeah, it's going to be better.
It's invaluable.
Yeah, I think it's part of a whether it's trainers and gyms and monks and concierge services or things like that. What it's really about is a different relationship between employee and employer, where you have highly intellectual workers that like you said, they've got inspiring brains.
Yeah.
And those minds and those bodies need to be successful. They need more than what our father's sort of generation of corporation was willing to give, right?
You're right.
I think. Or they won't stick around, right?
Well,
I mean, if you're
yeah.
competing with other enlightened companies, you need to be an enlightened company. You can't compete when you don't get why it's important for your people to be healthy, and you don't get why it's important for them to have ways to clear their minds and to be present and to be happy. Just to continue to work on that. Because why are we working? Right?
Yes.
Why are we working?
Why are we doing this?
Why are we? I actually have an opinion. I think work is so far the best way humanity has come up with to understand ourselves. We work to understand ourselves. It is why we work and why we set goals and why we move forward. And if work isn't a great place to discover yourself, to understand yourself, it's not gonna compete with places that do. When you need to attract really intellectual workers. So that's why I think we work.
We have an innate need to show progress, right? And I see it in the fitness world all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I have been stuck at this particular exercise, at this particular weight for this long, and there's an innate need inside the soul to have improvement. I've been working on this problem. Where is it?
Yeah.
Where's the answer?
Yeah.
Great, I like this. What's the difference between that and ambition?
Oh, I don't think there is a difference. Well, that's maybe not true. I think that there are people who are more intrinsically motivated to work on problem solving, be it fitness-oriented, work-related, relationship, or self-discovery. And there are people who really have that internal fire.
Ambition can be ego too. It
For
can
sure.
be fueled, purely by ego. Whereas the discovery of self, I think, isn't fueled by
You're right.
ego.
Yeah.
I have to take a real quick break here. There's a painting behind me, and I want to just say a couple things about it. Can you just kind of go up and see, so we can see it? So we had some people on the show, and they were doing a charity auction, and I asked them if I could do a painting for their charity auction, and it's for Make It Right, and I missed the deadline. I paint slowly, and so I missed the deadline. So what we're doing is we're going to post this on eBay, and we're going to do an auction. All the proceeds go to Make It Right, and you can find out more about Make It Right at makeitright.org. And Brad Pitt's involved with Make It Right. Hopefully he buys the painting, because I'll match whatever we get on the painting up to $5,000. So potentially $10,000 could go to Make It Right, and that would be a nice thing. It would make it a little bit righter. So what Make It Right does is it helps the people in New Orleans who, in the 9th Ward, saw their homes destroyed, and Make It Right is working to rebuild those homes. This is inspired by the struggle in New Orleans. Get a little choked up. So anyway, if you bidding starts at I think $300 or something. It's super cheap for this kind of quality art. So anyway, I hope you bid often and extravagantly. Okay, back to the show.
Well done.
That was our first commercial.
Well done.
Yeah, it worked.
We should have cut away, and I should have had a suit on or something. People who are just joining, we're here with Jed Glass, who's a trainer at CPB, works in our gym, and Greg Berdulis, who is a former monk, and works on mindfulness sessions at CPB, and we're talking about why this matters and why in a corporate setting you can have people who help with mind and body and soul and all that.
So I'd like to come back to the question that I asked you, and actually, Jed, see if you've got a response to how is it beneficial socially if say I'm happy? How does that help the workplace out? How does that help the people around me?
How does what help the people?
The fact
You're happy.
that I'm happy. I'm
Well, if you're
content.
unhappy, you create. Can I answer? Because Jed doesn't want to answer.
Yeah.
I just one answer is
This
that
is the example of always deferring to the client.
it creates turmoil. When people are unhappy, they create work and they create turmoil and they create drama that creates more unhappiness and more work for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I think when people are happy, they're most efficient because they're just dealing with the work problem, and there's not like layers of here's another personal problem I'll add to this, and I'll like to engage with your personal problem if we could.
Yeah.
You know?
So along those lines,
It's efficient. Go ahead.
There's research that proves that there is a chemical cascade going on in the brain at that time. So if the individual has baggage that they bring to work, then they will create drama because their brain is craving the chemical response of the conflict. So if you can go and you can drop the stress of the conflict, well, then your work output is better.
Right.
Alex, one of the first day that I was here, I came to you and told you that people that I had talked with, and as I was trying to get a sense of this place, and my memory of your response was, well, that's good, but those people, they already know how to handle the stress. That's not the people I'm most concerned about in this area.
Oh, because of the people you had met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You wanted me to meet with the people who were new and who were young, that did not know how to handle the stress because they couldn't be happy. And I was quite impressed that their happiness, their contentment, their well-being was a value of yours. I can understand that from a business standpoint for the same reasons that you mentioned earlier about efficiency and likely creativity also.
Yeah.
But that wasn't all there was. At least that's not what I read from you.
Well, we're not. I mean, we're not total. We're not robots just because we're at work and we've got to.
Yeah. But Alex, I'm also saying that what I sensed from you was a genuine concern for those human beings, not only as employees.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know that that's that rare. I think that I think in most companies, and I mostly know agencies, but we engage with a lot of companies. I think that that is the case.
To a degree.
To a degree, and sometimes it just isn't, corporately fashionable to step too far into it. Like, we've obviously, with having you here and doing this stuff, this is too far. Most people will look at this and they'll say, that is just
Weird.
Yeah, I don't think they'll just say it's weird. And that's okay, because the first time someone, got maternity leave, it was weird, I said there's that bumper sticker someone was telling me about that says "harden the fuck up," right, or something like that. And it's funny, and I get it. And I think that there's times when I would have put it on my car too. But I want to soften the fuck up, I think that's a little bit better path. I think it's a better path to success, actually.
It's a lot of work
even
to be callous.
even as a corporate person.
Yeah.
It is. You have to put up barriers to be callous, right? It's not natural. I think natural. We are at our natural state. We are pretty loving people, right? We're loving beings. There's can I go to a question off the screen? Someone wants to see some chair yoga from you. Can you do a real quick chair yoga? Is it possible?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
But I'm attached.
Oh, you have to stand to do it?
Well, actually, no,
It's
not
chair
necessarily.
yoga. How-
Right.
yeah.
All right. So I'm not okay.
Just a real quick. It doesn't.
All right. So you're sitting at the front edge of your
I'm
chair.
terrible at yoga, by the way. All right.
So the hands will go down on the seat of the chair, and let's see.
I'm nervous. For
Are
some
ya?
reason. Yeah.
Okay, we're not going to do anything special or
Do I have to press
very
to,
difficult. Nice. Okay, feet off the ground.
For real? Feet off the ground?
No, you did it, so
Oh.
now we do it. All right, so here's what I was helping the employees learn. So from here, the chest rises, the shoulders go back, the chin rises, and you look up through the ceiling, okay? So you're actually looking into the sky. You're pressing the spine gently through the chest and up towards the sky. 3, 2, 1. And now it's just the opposite. So the upper body curls over the lower body, and you're letting your head, the top of your head, roll to the floor.
Can I say that we should harden the fuck up right now?
Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we'll straighten up. All right, so here's the last one. And this is one I like particularly. This is a difficult pose without a chair in yoga, to just stand in this position, right? So you're taking all the weight through your thighs. But we're not going to stand.
We're not going to do it.
But we do still have this same orientation through the body, and the hands are lifting up and the fingers are reaching into the sky. The sky, the infinite blueness of the sky.
This is a good one if like for people to take a little still off the screen and then maybe try to make fun of us with it.
Yeah, well, that won't be difficult.
That won't
This
be
is
hard.
what we always face whenever we step out of what's normal.
It's easy to make fun.
Yeah.
Easy to tear down. Hard
Okay.
to build.
So we're just going to take 5 seconds to imagine that we're reaching into the sky with our fingertips and connecting through the arms to the sky that's already inside our hearts. So the infinite blue out there is connecting to the infinite blue in here. 3, 2, 1, and release.
I feel
All right,
great.
this show's
Thank
going to
you.
just go up a notch right now.
Here we go.
Because we're all.
It makes a difference.
No, it might. I feel good.
This is what we're learning, are these small little tweaks throughout the day, throughout our lives, to make us more happy and those around us.
Because you can meditate, I don't meditate, but I've heard other people say, no, I think you do, but you just do it in really small chunks, and
But part of meditation can be being aware of the weight against the chair, or how our feet feel. So those qualities of awareness can be present right now, even while we're interacting.
Right.
There's a question here.
This is a good question, I think.
About how can you be self-aware without being self-absorbed.
Excellent.
Isn't that a good one?
Yeah.
And it would be my opinion that if you are self-aware, then you are absolutely not self-absorbed.
Okay, so make the distinction for us. What's the difference?
Well, if you have an awareness of where you are physically in this particular conversation, then you have an idea of where you aren't. And if you know where you aren't, well, then you have an awareness of where everything is.
Okay, and then what's self-absorbed?
This is me, this is my world, and this is all that exists.
Yeah.
Or the other, the self-aware. You, if you become self-aware, I think that you become very aware of others. Too,
Yeah,
right?
in a big way.
Yeah, and then and you become very aware of the impact you're having, right? Mm-hmm. You know, wow, I just bummed that person out, or right.
So now we can get
And
again.
self-absorbed, you wouldn't care. Self-absorbed
yeah,
would be, it's about
nice.
me.
Welcome.
Yeah.
What are they doing for me?
Yeah.
How can this situation help me?
Yeah.
That's, I think, the distinction too, right?
Nice. So I would like to come back to this notion of how it is that my happiness benefits others.
Wait, I had just had an epiphany.
Let's hear it.
It's because of the yoga. It's because of the chair yoga. But this is just such a great question, the self-aware, self-absorbed thing. If you want your career to really blossom in advertising, probably anything, you become more self-aware, you really do become really very attuned to what other people need, specifically your clients. And when you understand your clients, you're able to produce work that not only answers their questions, but it gets produced and does good things. And that's your job. You're able to do your job better, and in a way that ultimately, does come back to you and everyone around you.
You wrote an article about
It's good for your career. Good for your career to be self-aware. Really bad for your career to be self-absorbed.
Right.
Excellent.
And you wrote an article about the American dream on your Apostrophes, and I think that it is a major challenge for people to go through their pursuit of whatever this generation's definition of the American dream is,
Yeah.
with an awareness of how it affects everybody, right? If I have to get my slice of the American dream, I basically have to put my head down and work my ass off
But
to
as
do
soon
it.
as you think of it as a slice, then already you're sort of off.
I agree
right?
with
It's
you.
like it's
Yeah,
about
yeah.
it's about baking more. It's not about
Yeah, that's
getting
a nice way to put it.
a piece of something that already exists, right?
Sure.
So I think part of what we're talking about is me benefiting at other people's expense.
Right.
And how when we become
That's
self-aware,
self-absorbed,
that
Flips.
no longer makes sense.
Yeah.
That's not the orientation of the mature heart.
It's cuckoo pants.
It's what?
It's cuckoo pants to think that way.
Cuckoo pants.
Yeah.
He's off his rocker.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy to think that that's really that's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make sense environmentally. When we get it into the big picture, that way of me first, everybody else suffers and I don't care,
Yeah.
that doesn't go very far.
So, it's this idea of working on yourself a little bit. It's the health of yourself, right? Like
sure.
Physical health,
Yeah.
spiritual health, and if you take what I like about the notion of health, it's the perfect place to start for fixing everything, because you start with it's not, few of us would be opposed to our own physical health, right?
Yeah.
And you start there, and then with that same idea, how far out do you want to share? How far out do you want to go?
Yes.
Do you want that? Do you want to care about your family and their health? Yeah, I think I'll do that. That's easy, pretty easy for most people. What about your community, right? Would you go that far? And you start going further and further out till you do get to the health of the planet, right? Same exact idea, just levels of responsibility.
I would have used the word well-being, where
That's what I
you're
meant to use.
using the word health. Okay. And by the way, well-being is part of the impetus or part of the concern for a department here called quality of life.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of a department.
Well, you know what it's called normally? Human resources. So you just take a big shovel and you scoop up humans, and then you dump them into the organization, which is not a good. I hate the name human resources.
Yeah, well, quality of life, I really enjoy and respect
better
that
name.
kind of attitude, because it's suggesting that we take care of the employees here. And that happens in a number of ways. The extreme concierge who works on skis and bicycles and snowboards. And by the way, he's a great guy. I mean, and then there's also, well, what are the other things that we do here? There's the weight room, and there's a great trainer who also happens to be a great guy.
Yeah.
And there's free food, or there's breakfast material and ongoing food. So these are ways that the quality of life is actually being enhanced. But I think by having trainers like Jed here, we're looking at the quality of life from the inside. And that's a whole nother realm of being involved that our fathers didn't have.
They didn't have it, no. Do you think the questions coming in, do you think other companies, should do the same thing? Should they have more incentives for methods of personal fitness and life learning? I think we think yes. Or do you think it wouldn't work other places?
I think all of us need to do that.
Yeah.
And if it can happen through a company, that's great.
Yeah.
Considering
even-
these people spend so much of their life here, I think that's an important thing.
Also considering where you could put the money, right? I don't know that it's not an enormous investment to do these sort of things. It's big, but compared to what you pay in healthcare, right?
And there's a lot of
Buy
studies that say that.
Absolutely, buy that down, right? So I mean, there's all sorts of how much? What's a like a psych drug like Xanax, or is that I don't know.
I don't know.
Anyway, there's all sorts of costs to unhappiness as well.
Sure.
And it's directly connected to physical health. I think that there's enough studies that would prove that. So I doubt that you could invest in it to the point that it would become a waste of money. I think that you would see that it's got great ROI.
Right.
ROI, what's that?
Return on investment.
Okay.
Sorry.
Are there
hate using
other categories or other ways of looking at the question that don't involve money that still answer the question?
Other ways. What do
Other
you mean?
perspectives. And
I don't know if I'm following.
to answer this question, is the bottom line the only determinant, the only criteria?
Well, unfortunately, in corporations. So the funny thing about a corporation is it's
Public.
It's like and especially if they're public. A corporation is like a giant individual, and you enter the individual, and so the corporation does think in financial terms, and it's difficult to, especially if it's public.
Yeah.
Because CEOs can get fired by boards if there's what they would consider financial waste, bad things could happen.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think the good news is it's not a
Yeah.
waste. It pays back easily.
No, you can decrease sick days. You can increase worker productivity. You can increase psychological health of the staff in the building and the environment, and improve the quality of the work output. These are all benefits that are paying for the cost of the department
Yeah.
of the input.
hand over fist.
But what could happen is over time, the whole organization gets so aware, right?
I can tell you're going off on a really strange tangent.
I'm just saying the whole because it is about the bottom line. But at some point, maybe that would change. At some point, an organization becomes so aware that stops, or not even just a one corporation, but so many corporations become so aware of what they're doing, and their people are so aware that they're not allowed to behave in ways that are inconsistent with just the health and well-being of themselves and the environment that they work in and the community that they work in.
You
right?
have just
That's a nice
articulated my dream.
yeah, it's a nice dream.
That
Should we
is
write-
my
can we
response
type that?
to what I'm doing here. And Crispin Porter and Bogusky is one place. There are many other places. May we all come to that level of awakening and change our behavior so that we are all concerned with the bigger picture.
Right.
that includes beyond the family, beyond the community, but this whole planet.
Yeah.
And I think that's possible. And it may be the only way
I think it's
for a
possible,
future
too.
for all of us.
I do think that you have to start in a place that's, when I say health, and you start more closer into the individual and the family.
Yeah.
And then it's got to work. It's got to work its way out, because so many people react to the environment like, I don't get it, right?
Yeah.
And yet other people look at it as just an extension of their own health.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, geez, if this water is not drinkable, this is not good, right? It all is sort of one thing. And I feel responsible for not just my family, but for all the kids in my kids' school. And now I feel, right, as that builds out, we start to change behavior in macro ways. It starts micro and it becomes macro.
And isn't that part of what the social media is able to affect or
It could
foster?
It's
That's
also
the way
part
that I
of,
use
just
my
to go,
social media.
It's also part of what makes monks so awesome. Because monks work on themselves, right? They spend a long time. I can't tell you anything new about being a monk, but that idea that if you get yourself in a good place, that it's going to have a ripple effect.
And that's the catalyst
we have to
talked
all become
about.
monks, but not.
No, we don't all have to become monks.
Thank God.
It's a great life. It's
Yeah.
far. I mean, it's easy to be happy as a monk. Well, I mean, once you've gotten over the things that you don't do, like listen to music or. Well, there's
Be
a
with
lot
women.
of things. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's it, I'm out.
that's it. Yeah,
Okay, but the point is that the kind of growth, the kind of internal orientation, the value for health that a monk or a nun has, the same the rest of us can have. And we inspire each other to do that.
question coming in: how many times a day, I don't know who this is for, do you honestly take time to meditate or refocus yourself? I guess we should. Me, boy, that's a tough one. I think I don't meditate. I'm not a meditator, but I do. I generally just tend to check in with my happiness, right?
Huh.
I just throughout the day, because I'm not okay with just being at whatever different level of happiness. I kind of have a standard for myself, and so I just check in, and if it's low, then a little analysis and a little time to kind of bring that back.
What are some of the ways that you bring the happiness to the level that
Mostly
you like?
just be present. I mean, it's very difficult to be present and to be unhappy. So usually it's because I'm usually in the.
That's right.
It's very difficult.
That's right.
So usually, if you sit down, and whatever else is going on,
And it doesn't take very long.
it doesn't take
maybe
long.
5 seconds.
And you're like, I'm sitting near Jed, and Jed's awesome. This is really good.
Yeah.
And I've met this new friend. It's really, whatever else I got going on, the now is usually really good.
Right. And if I'm going back to back to back with clients, sometimes it's thank you, good work, goodbye, turn, breathe, collect, hi, hello, how are you? Okay.